welcome back to Mini Urban Farm, a channel about gardening and homesteading in the suburbs. Today is one of my favorite days of the season because it is seed starting day. I'm so excited because I have a whole bunch of new varieties this season. I said I wasn't going to rip out everything in my garden, but I probably am, so I can try some new things and make the most of this space. I am sitting here with the very last bit of shade for the morning, and so I've got all my stuff prepared at my seed starting table. I'm going to take you along with me and show you exactly how I start my seeds. Let's go. Alright, so you can see here is my garden. I haven't ripped everything out yet. I did rip a few things out that were burnt by the frost, but for the most part everything is intact. And then over here in the shade, as you can see, is my seed starting table. So that's what I'm talking about with the last little bit of light. And so I have my seeds. First of all, I have them divided up into things that I am going to direct sow, and then things that I am going to be starting from seed in pots like I will be doing today. Now in this pile with the things to plant and then transplant into the garden, they are things that basically I don't want to put like, you know, 1 or 2 cucumber seeds and hope that they do well. What I like to do is plant maybe 6 or 7 of them if I only need a few, and then pick the best ones and make sure that those best ones are making their way into the garden. The same thing with the tomatoes and anything really that, you know, can handle the transplanting. Now I also have in here a lot of things that are going into the food forest, so this won't be in the garden, which is why, you know, I'm planting them in pots, little miniature pots, stuff like this. And then some stuff that I will be selling, so of course that doesn't get direct sown either. Now aside from that, I have some little plant tags here. These are just reusable ones with a Sharpie so I can write the names. And then I have little pots, or really little red solo cups, which I also still reuse. Also, this is from last season. I planted some cucumbers in there. And then I like using these ones as well. These are all recycled. You can tell they're kind of beat up, but they still do the trick. And then I have some 10 by 20 trays. I think they're just called 10-20 trays. I have some without holes on them, right? And then I have a few underneath here that have holes on them, but I really like using the ones without holes because these, right, they have holes, they have drainage holes, and so I can put anything in here and then bottom water. So this will retain all of the water, and then the seeds can soak them up from the bottom, which is very helpful. And then of course the last thing that I need is my potting soil. This is do-it-yourself homemade seed starting soil. You want it to be very, very fluffy. You don't want it to stick together. So this is the perfect consistency. You can see I have a lot of perlite in here. If you want the exact recipe, I will leave the link below to the video where I show you exactly how I make it. Ever since I have started using this type of potting soil instead of the one from the store, not only is it cheaper, but my garden has grown so much better, and my seeds just do better overall. And then the last thing I have is my little garden setup here, my greenhouse. You can see some things that I kind of overwintered that aren't really doing too hot. And then those are papaya seeds that I had extra of one day, and I just decided to see if maybe they would grow out. And I think I'm actually getting 1 or 2. So hopefully these will go into the food forest when they're ready, but they do take a long time. And then if you're wondering why there's a bunch of bricks at the bottom, it's because these little greenhouses, while they do the trick, right, they have all the plastic, and I have my little thermometer in there also, but they tend to be not as sturdy, right? So I've had more than one instance of this thing blowing away, and then all of my pots and all my seedlings are displaced. So I make sure I have like heavy bricks or wood or whatever it is at the bottom at all times. Alright, so the first thing I will be starting is my yellow squash and my zucchini. I'm going to put them in this container here. I'm just going to do half yellow squash, half zucchini, just because I don't need tons of them, and then I'll probably realistically only do 1 or 2 plants of these, and then the rest I will sell. I don't have tons of space, and these tend to get really large. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up my trays. Alright, and then essentially the bigger the seed that you have, the deeper it goes into the ground. And then, let's see, I've got 6 of these, so I'll do 6 seeds. And this is zucchini, so I'll just put this on one end here and poke hole, cover it up. Alright, so these are done, and I'm gonna go put them in the greenhouse. I will water in everything at the end, that way I don't have to keep coming back and forth with the watering bucket. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to be starting are my cucumbers and my tomatoes. Now, I've never grown these, so I'm really excited to grow these. These are lemon cucumbers. I think that they do probably require a lot of space, and they are trellising. So I'll start maybe 6 or 7 of them with the intent to plant out 3 or 4. I don't have tons of space this season, and I think that tomatoes will probably occupy the majority of our space. So I'll probably be planting out all of these and then use any extras to sell, because anytime I plant out tomatoes, these ones sell the best. Now, another way that I've actually seed started in the past is by using what looks like napkins, but it's not, I promise. It's these little individual seed starting baggies. So you open them up at the top, and they're like a very thin material, and so you pour all of the dirt or soil or whatever it is, your seed starting mix, in here along with the seeds, and then the seeds actually grow through this. So the roots come through this little baggie and you plant it directly into the garden. So instead of using things like this, like a red Solo cup or other little seed starting trays, you could potentially just use these things. They are really cheap. I did get them on Amazon, so I'll link them below if you're interested in a really good budget method. And they work really well. I did test them out last season, and I think that they did really well. I like my red Solo cups right now, but I have them on hand in case I ever need them. Alright, so I have my Roma tomatoes right here, and with my tomatoes I always plant them out pretty densely because tomatoes do really well when they're transplanted, and so I'll just separate the seeds out afterward. And then I am going to save because there's a lot in that little packet. And so what I'll do is now I'll just cover them instead of having to dig a hole. I'll just take some seed starting soil and cover them lightly, about 1/2 inch or so, and then put the name tags on them and water them in. Alright, so far I have everything that is going in here that needs to be transplanted into the garden. I have my stack of things to direct sow, which will kind of just hang out. This is actually going to go in the food forest, but the rest of these things is my little done pile here. And then the only remaining items I have are my things that I am going to start now, and then they are going to go into the food forest at some point in time. I'm not exactly sure when they will end up in the food forest, and I might end up selling some of this, but for right now we have kind of like a deer problem in the food forest, so I don't want to like plant them out and then they completely get overrun or like eaten. But this one, I had to show you guys, moringa. I have been so excited to grow this. The seeds are super interesting looking, and so I'm very excited to see. This is actually a tree, and so I'll be planting a few of these out, and then I'll probably cage them in just like I do with the rest of my fruit trees to make sure that they don't get eaten. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is plant out my moringa. I need some more soil in there. These ones are fairly large seeds, so I am going to go ahead and plant out 1 per cup. And I think, let's see, the instructions say pre-soak, but to be honest with you, I've not really had tons of great experience with pre-soaking things, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that step. And then seed depth about 1 inch in. And then I will water them in really well afterward. Alright, so I did up my little tags. I have 2 purple basil, I have 3 mint, 2 lemon balm, 2 orange thyme, and then 1 agastache, I think is how you pronounce that. Now, for the most part, you sow these on the soil surface, I believe. The basil, I know you do. The Eustache, that's what it says in the back of the packet. The thyme, that's usually how I sow it as well. And so what I'll do is I'll do a whole bunch of them, right? So like you can definitely put a whole bunch of them in one cup. So I'll do 2 individual cups, and then I will break them apart, and they do pretty well at being like, you know, carefully breaking the roots apart. So that should be completely fine, and then I'll get a whole bunch of plants out of those 2 cups. Alright, so this is mountain mint. I did not realize the seeds were so small. My gosh, look how tiny those are. And so I'm actually using one hand because my tripod broke, guys. So bear with me here. The seeds are tiny. I'm going to put these, if I can, in. I'm going to sprinkle some in here, and you're supposed to just sow them right on top. You don't need to even cover them or anything. Alright, so... Alright, so that'll be my mountain mint. I'll put my little tags right here. And the same thing for my lemon balm seeds. The same thing, you just kind of like sow them right on top. So very carefully. And then I'll put some in here. Alright, and grab my little things here. And then I will water them all in, but these don't need to be covered. Generally with herbs, I will just sprinkle them right on top, and they don't really need a lot of dirt or soil or whatever on top of them. So all of my seeds are ready to go. They are all in there. These are all of my herbs that I'm planting out this season. I'm gonna do some curled parsley, and you can hear Milo over there crying. He wants to be played with. But I'm gonna do some curled parsley and that kind of thing. Those you just transplant, or sorry, those you just direct sow into the garden. So the majority of those things will be staying in the food forest, but we might keep them here in pots so the deer don't eat them for a little bit. And then we have our cucumbers, we have cherry tomatoes, and then the tomatoes will be separated out afterward because it's going to be like a cup of just weed looking things. So we'll separate those out, and then the moringa as well, which I'm super excited for. So the next step, besides our transplanting, is actually planting out our beans and our peppers, and we have some okra in here and salad greens. All of these things actually get direct sown into the garden, and so as soon as, there, he's just waiting patiently. As soon as we actually get some of these things out of the garden here, and I have to decide what I'm going to rip up and what I'm not, what I'm going to let stay. But as soon as this is a little bit more empty, then our next step is going to be to direct sow our seeds, and we'll have a brand new spring garden. Alright, so thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I love sharing seed starting videos with you, and we'll have a lot more seed gardening, all of that good stuff coming up. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!